Stop scrolling for 1 second, because I need to ask you something strange. Has a stranger ever locked eyes with you across a room and just stayed there? Not a glance, not a blink and it's gone moment. A full, uncomfortable, unexplainable stare. Maybe it was a cashier who forgot to hand you your change because she was too busy studying your face. Maybe it was a man on the train who stared at you for 6 stops and never said a single word. Maybe it was a child who pointed at you and whispered something to their mother that you couldn't hear. You laughed it off. You told yourself you had something on your face. You told yourself it was nothing, but deep down, some part of you knew it wasn't nothing, because this hasn't happened once. It's happened again, and again, and again. In classrooms, in elevators, at weddings, in grocery store lines, in places you don't even know these people. And every single time, the pattern is the same. They look, their mouth opens slightly, like they want to say something, and then nothing comes out. They just watch you the way you'd watch something you don't have the words for. If you are nodding right now, I need you to understand something before we go any further. You are not imagining this. You are not paranoid. You are not too sensitive. What you are experiencing has a name, and today, for the first time, I am going to explain it to you in full. It's called the silent stare, and it is the involuntary human reaction to standing in the presence of a chosen one. In the next 20-something minutes, I am going to walk you through the 7, no, 8 spiritual reasons why people's eyes are drawn to you like moths to a flame, and why, no matter how badly they want to speak to you, their tongues lock the second you're near. By the time this video ends, you will never look at a stranger's stare the same way again. And more importantly, you will finally understand what your own presence has been doing to the world around you this entire time. Stay with me. This one is going to change how you see yourself. Think back, right now, to the most recent time it happened. Maybe it was yesterday. Maybe it was an hour before you clicked on this video. Picture the person's face. Picture how long the stare lasted. 3 seconds, 10 seconds, longer than felt normal. Picture how your body reacted. Did you look away first? Did you smile just to break the tension? Did you feel a strange warmth, or did it feel like something heavier, almost like pressure? Hold that memory in your mind, because by the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly what that moment meant and why it will keep happening for the rest of your life. Before we go any further, if even one sentence I just said gave you chills or made you think of a specific moment when someone stared at you and said nothing, I want you to do 2 things right now. Type "I am chosen" in the comments below so the people around you who feel this same isolation can find this message too. And hit that subscribe button, because this channel, The Chosen Era, exists for exactly one purpose: to help awaken souls like you understand the power you were born with. And one more thing before we start. This video is longer than most because I refuse to give you a shallow, rushed explanation of something this important. Get comfortable. Grab your tea, your coffee, whatever grounds you. What you're about to hear deserves your full attention, not a distracted scroll. Now, let's get into reason number 1. The first reason people stare at you in silence is your spiritual radiance. Every human being carries a frequency, a vibration that radiates outward whether they realize it or not. Most people live their entire lives operating at what I call a gray frequency. They wake up, they go through the motions, they scroll, they consume, they survive. Their energy is flat, muted, forgettable. It doesn't disturb the air around it. But chosen ones are different. You carry a high-frequency vibration, an energetic signature that doesn't blend into the background. When you walk into a room, you don't just occupy space, you alter it. You are like a single lit candle placed in the middle of a pitch-black room. Nobody has to be told the candle is there. Every eye in that room finds it automatically, instinctively, without effort. Here's the part most people don't understand. The people staring at you are not consciously choosing to stare. Their subconscious mind is reacting to your frequency before their conscious mind has even processed what it's looking at. It's an involuntary pull, the same way your head turns toward a loud noise before you decide to turn it. Their soul recognizes your light before their brain can explain it. Think about how a moth behaves around a flame. It doesn't reason its way toward the light. It doesn't weigh the pros and cons. Something ancient and automatic in its wiring simply pulls it closer. Human beings are far more complex than moths, obviously, but at the level of energy, the mechanism is almost identical. The people staring at you have not made a conscious decision to look. Their attention has been pulled the same way your eye is pulled toward the brightest object in a dark photograph before you've even registered what the object is, and this is exactly why they don't speak. How do you put into words something you can feel but cannot name? Think about the last time you watched a truly breathtaking sunset. Did you turn to the stranger next to you and start a conversation? No, you went quiet. You just absorbed it. That is precisely what is happening to the people who stare at you. They are not being rude. They are not judging you. They are witnessing something, and their silence is a form of reverence they don't even know they're performing. The second reason is what I call the mirror effect, and this one is deeper, and honestly, a little uncomfortable to talk about. Your energy does not just radiate outward, it reflects. When someone stares at you in silence, they are not only seeing you, they are unknowingly seeing a reflection of themselves. Specifically, they are seeing the parts of themselves they have buried, their unhealed wounds, their abandoned dreams, the version of themselves they gave up on somewhere along the way. Your authenticity is the mirror. You didn't ask to be one. You didn't choose this responsibility. But because you carry yourself with a kind of quiet realness, because you are not performing a role, not wearing a mask to survive social situations, your presence exposes the masks that everyone else is wearing. This is why some stares feel warm, almost admiring, while others feel heavy, almost hostile. Both reactions come from the same source. Your presence is forcing an internal reckoning inside them, whether they want it or not. The person who admires you is seeing the potential in themselves that they haven't yet reached. The person who seems almost bothered by you, who can't stop looking even though it looks like it pains them, is confronting a part of themselves they've spent years running from. Either way, they go silent, because what's happening inside them isn't really about you at all. It's an internal conversation they're suddenly having with themselves, triggered by simply standing near you. You didn't say anything. You didn't have to. Your existence alone asked the question, are you living as your true self or are you hiding? And most people don't have an answer, so they just stare and they say nothing. This is also why you may have noticed that certain people seem to dislike you for reasons they can never quite articulate. You didn't do anything to them. You didn't say a harsh word. And yet, something about your presence unsettles them in a way they can't explain even to themselves. That discomfort is rarely about you. It is almost always about the reflection you've unknowingly placed in front of them, one they were not ready to see. Understanding this can free you from years of wondering what you did wrong. In most cases, you did nothing wrong at all. You simply existed clearly and unapologetically in front of someone who wasn't ready to do the same. Reason number 3 is your innate spiritual authority. There is a weight, an invisible gravity that surrounds a chosen one. You may be soft-spoken. You may be the last person to raise your voice in a room, the one who never demands attention, and yet somehow when you walk in, the room shifts. Conversations pause for half a second. People instinctively adjust their posture. Nobody tells them to do this. It happens on a level beneath conscious thought. This is what I call aura power, and it has nothing to do with volume, height, beauty. or confidence in the way the world typically defines it. It is a spiritual authority you carry because your soul has done work in this lifetime or in lifetimes before this one that has earned you a certain presence. People sense that you are not easily shaken. They sense that you are a protector, a leader, or a disruptor of stagnant energy, even if you've never held a leadership title in your life. And this is exactly why they hesitate to speak. Their silence isn't awkwardness. It is subconscious respect, sometimes even laced with a quiet form of fear. Not fear of you as a threat, but fear of saying the wrong thing in front of someone who feels important. They feel as though they need permission to approach you, but they don't know how to ask for that permission. So they simply watch. There is an invisible seal on you, chosen one that commands attention without you ever raising your voice or demanding it. You have never needed to perform authority. You simply carry it. I want you to think about every time you've walked into a job interview, a first day at a new school, or a family gathering full of people you'd never met. Did people ask you unusually specific questions, almost testing you, trying to figure out where you fit in the hierarchy of the room? Did strangers open up to you within minutes of meeting you, telling you things they said they'd never told anyone? That is your authority at work. People instinctively trust a chosen one with their truth, even when logic says they shouldn't trust a stranger at all. Let's go even deeper, because reason number 4 might be the most eye-opening one yet. You are a glitch in the matrix. Most people are, whether they admit it or not, running on a kind of program. They were taught what to want, what success looks like, what to fear, what to chase, and what to avoid. They follow trends without questioning them. They compare themselves to strangers on a screen. They repeat the same patterns their parents repeated, who repeated the patterns of the generation before them. It is a loop, and most people never even realize they're inside it. But you, chosen one, broke that loop somewhere along the way. Maybe it was through suffering. Maybe it was through a spiritual awakening. Maybe you were simply born already outside the program. Either way, your eyes don't carry the same emptiness. Your choices don't follow the same script. You don't chase the same shallow validation that keeps everyone else running on the treadmill. And when people encounter something that exists outside the program, their minds don't know how to categorize it. You are, quite literally, an anomaly to their pattern recognition system. It's the same reaction a computer has when it tries to open a corrupted file. It hesitates, it processes, it searches for a match that isn't there. That is what's happening in the mind of a person staring at you. They are trying to place you into a familiar box, a job title, a personality type, a type of person, and failing every time because you refuse to be reduced to a category. Confusion, when it's this deep, doesn't produce words, it produces silence. That long, unbroken stare is the human mind attempting to process something it has never fully encountered before. A person who is actually, fully, unapologetically themselves. Reason number 5 is one of the most beautiful reasons on this list. They are searching for hope, and somehow, without knowing your story, they sense that you have some to give. So many of the people around you, co-workers, classmates, strangers on the street, are quietly hurting. They are carrying grief they've never spoken about, disappointments they've buried under a forced smile, exhaustion they hide so well that even their closest friends don't see it, and then you walk by, carrying an energy that feels settled, healed, survived. They don't know your story. They don't know what fire you walked through to become who you are now. But something in them recognizes that you made it out. You have what I call healed energy, the specific, unmistakable calm of someone who has been broken and rebuilt themselves, rather than someone who has simply never been tested. They stare because a part of them wants to ask you, how did you survive it? Or, how do I find the peace that you clearly have? But the social rules we've all been trained to follow keep the question locked behind their teeth. Strangers don't ask strangers those kinds of questions. So instead, they just stand there, hoping that proximity alone might transfer some of your strength to them, the way standing near a fire warms you even if you never touch the flame. You may never know it, but in that moment, you are functioning as a lighthouse. You're not trying to save anyone. You're not performing wisdom. You are simply standing there, visible, steady, and for someone who feels like a lost ship in a storm, that visibility alone is enough to guide them home. This is also why strangers sometimes tell you their deepest struggles within minutes of meeting you. On a plane, in a waiting room, in line at a coffee shop. You haven't asked for their trust, yet somehow they hand it to you freely. That is not a coincidence, and it is not because you look approachable in the conventional sense. It is because, on a level deeper than logic, they sense that you will not judge them, because you have clearly judged and rebuilt yourself first. Reason number 6 is something many chosen ones feel but rarely have language for: your spiritual guard. You are not walking through this life alone, even when you feel like you are. Chosen ones are surrounded by a layer of protection. Call it ancestors, guardian energy, angels, or the divine, depending on your belief system. And this protection is not passive. It is active. It surrounds you the way a current surrounds a swimmer, invisible but undeniably present. Have you ever noticed someone start walking toward you with clear intention, only to suddenly stop, hesitate, and turn away without explanation? Have you ever had someone tell you they meant to talk to you at an event but just couldn't bring themselves to, with no real reason why? That is not coincidence. That is your spiritual guard doing exactly what it was placed there to do. Filtering who is allowed to enter your space and who is quietly redirected elsewhere. Sometimes, the person staring at you isn't reacting to you at all. They are reacting to the boundary of energy that surrounds you, a wall they can sense but cannot see, let alone explain. Their silence in these moments is not confusion or admiration. It is their spirit receiving a message that has nothing to do with logic. Do not interfere. And so they simply stand there, staring, caught between the pull toward you and the invisible instruction to keep their distance. If you have ever felt inexplicably safe walking alone at night, when logically you should have felt afraid, that is your guard. If you have ever had a plan fall through at the last second, only to find out later it saved you from something far worse, that is your guard. If you have ever noticed that certain toxic people never seem to stay in your life for long, no matter how hard they try to attach themselves to you, that too is your guard quietly working behind the scenes long before you ever notice it. The 7th reason brings us to something deeply personal: soul recognition. Not everyone who stares at you is a stranger reacting to a light they can't explain. Sometimes, the person staring back at you is a chosen one too, one who hasn't yet stepped into their own power, who hasn't yet done the inner work you have already done. When they look at you, they are not just seeing you. They are seeing an unlived version of themselves. This is what ancient traditions call deep calling unto deep, a soul-to-soul acknowledgement that bypasses language entirely. Words feel almost insulting in that moment, because what's being communicated is too vast, too instant, to be reduced to small talk. That is why the silence, in this particular case, does not feel uncomfortable. It feels sacred. Here is how to tell the difference. If a stranger's stare leaves you feeling drained, uneasy, or exposed, that is likely someone confronting their own shadow through the mirror effect. But if a stranger's stare leaves you feeling an unexplainable sense of peace, familiarity, or even quiet joy, as though you've met before in a life you can't remember, that is soul recognition. That is a member of your spiritual family finding you again. This is why some strangers feel more familiar to you within minutes than people you've known for years. Time, in these encounters, seems to behave differently. 5 minutes of conversation can feel like an entire lifetime of history. If you have ever met someone and thought, almost involuntarily, I know you from somewhere, even though I know we've never met, that was not your imagination playing tricks on you. That was recognition, spirit to spirit, older than this current lifetime. And before we close, I want to leave you with one final reason, reason number 8, because I believe it might be the most important one of all. You are a living reminder that there is more to this existence than what most people have settled for. In a world where so many people have convinced themselves that the job, the routine, the numbness, is all there is, you are proof of the opposite. Your very existence quietly whispers that there is a deeper reality available to everyone, one built on purpose, presence, and light. People don't just stare at what you look like, they stare at what you represent, and representing the unseen, the sacred, the awakened, that will always draw eyes and it will always outpace words. Now that you understand why people react to you the way they do, I want to give you 4 quick signs to confirm what you probably already suspect deep down. Sign 1. Children and animals are drawn to you almost instantly, often before you've said a word, because they haven't yet been taught to filter their intuition the way adults have. Sign 2. You have been called intense, too deep, or too much by people who couldn't handle the level of authenticity you naturally carry. Not because something is wrong with you, but because your presence asks more of people than they're used to giving. Sign 3. You often sense things before they happen, a shift in someone's mood, a conversation about to turn, a decision about to go wrong, and you've learned, sometimes painfully, to trust that instinct. Sign 4. Solitude has never truly frightened you, even during your loneliest seasons, because some part of you has always known you were never actually alone. If 2 or more of these describe you, everything we've talked about today isn't a coincidence. It's confirmation, so the next time you feel those eyes on you in a waiting room, in a hallway, on a crowded street, I need you to do something different. Don't shrink. Don't lower your head. Don't rush to fill the silence with a nervous joke just to make it stop. Instead, stand a little taller, breathe a little deeper, because now you know what's actually happening. You are not being judged. You are not too much. You are a mirror, a lighthouse, a glitch in a broken program, a walking reminder of everything the world has forgotten how to feel. Their silence is not rejection. It is their spirit's reaction to standing near the divine. Even if their mind doesn't yet have the words to explain it, your silence, chosen one, has always been your power. Their silence is simply the world finally catching up to that truth. I know that for some of you, this recognition is bittersweet. Being stared at, being too much, being the one people can't quite categorize, it has made you feel isolated more often than it has made you feel celebrated. Maybe you've spent years wishing you could just blend in, just be normal, just walk through a room unnoticed for once. I want you to know that longing is valid. Carrying this kind of presence is not always easy, and nobody warned you how heavy a light can feel when you're the one holding it. But hear me clearly. The world does not need another person who blends in. It needed you exactly as unmistakable as you are. Every uncomfortable stare, every awkward silence, every person who couldn't find the words to speak to you, all of it has been shaping you into someone who no longer needs external validation to know who they are. That, in itself, is the final proof of your becoming. If even one part of this video felt like it was written specifically for you, do me a favor and send it to one person. Someone who has felt this same isolation. Someone who has asked themselves, why do people look at me like that? They need to hear this exact message today. Drop a comment below and tell me, which of these 8 reasons hit closest to home for you? Was it the mirror effect, the spiritual guard, or the deep, quiet peace of soul recognition? I read every single one, and I genuinely want to hear your story, the moment you first realized you were being seen differently than everyone else. Your comment might be the exact words another chosen one needs to read tonight. Stay blessed, stay woke, and welcome, always, to the chosen era. I'll see you in the next one.